I'm a true champion. I'm a true champion.
Live from iRacing's virtual Knockhill, we welcome all of you watching live on Racecraft TV to tonight's live coverage of Season 2 of Racecraft TV Rallycross. We're ready to already get started with the action as we get ready to go green with Heat number 1. We are now underway. It's Connor Berry and Trevor Teal who are going to lead the field down and into turn number 1. And as they get started here at the brand new Knockhill Raceway, they dive into the first corner. Already a heads-up battle between Trevor Teal and Connor Berry. I'm Joshua Lee. Joining me here in the commentary booth is Ian Fisher. And Ian, already it's a battle between two great drivers when it comes to off-road racing, Trevor Teal and Connor Berry. Here comes the Jim Beaver Esports machine trying to fight with Teal as they go onto the tarmac again towards the Joker lane.
It's going to be a very exciting race today as we see them come around the final hairpin back to the start-finish line. Knockhill is a very tight technical track, Josh. These drivers are going to be tested. It's going to be very hard to pass. It's going to be a very exciting night for all of us here on Racecraft TV.
And it was a bit of a quick start as well. We were not expecting them to go green quite that quickly. So we are now with you. We are bringing you live coverage now. And we'll go through the race analysis. We'll go through the track facts as we can when we get into the middle portions of the night, because we will have a bit of a warm-up in between the LCQ and the feature for RX2 and RX1. If you're new to Racecraft TV Rallycross, two different types of racing that you'll see tonight. You're looking at RX2 right now, which is the less experienced drivers when it comes to Rallycross, and then later on tonight around 9 p.m. Eastern, you're going to see the drivers of RX1 go head-to-head. These are drivers who are more experienced in Rallycross and who some of them have competed in the World Championship when it comes to iRacing Rallycross, so they know a thing or two about getting around the virtual racetrack and on tarmac and dirt. But right now we're watching the less experienced drivers of RX2, but I say less experienced in, and we have Connor Berry who is currently leading the way, and he knows his way around an off-road course, most notably the Pro Trucks. But here comes the challenge of Rallycross. He just completely blew through that braking zone, not knowing exactly how these cars brake on the tarmac. 2 to go. He cut the course a little bit, but Nick Chacon, who sits in second place right now, has already completed his Joker lap.
And you're absolutely right. Connor Berry a little bit more adjusted to those Pro 2 Pro trucks, coming over here to the Rallycross circuit and trying to make a name for himself. You already know he's a very talented driver, Josh. But yeah, we're already on lap 4 here, and Connor Berry has a commanding lead. As I said earlier, it's going to be very hard to pass on this track unless you wait for that Joker opportunity, or unless you use a little bit of that push to pass. So we'll see what Connor does here with 1 lap remaining after this.
And a correction, that was Trevor Teal who went into the Joker lane last time by. Nick Chacon, who sits in second place, has not jokered. It looks like he will this time by, as well as Connor Berry is going to save his for this final lap. So that moves Trevor Teal closer to him in second place. Now that is a lapped machine in front of Connor Berry. I believe that is going to be the 29 of Nathan Ramsey. Yes, it is. So that's not going to be for position. The big question here is Teal close enough to walk away with this win off of a Joker lap? Here comes Connor Berry. The checkered flag will wave this time as the lapped machine of Nathan Ramsey ducks out of the way. Connor Berry goes through the uphill hairpin. Can he stay in front of Teal? It looks like Teal's going to be too far back to make anything happen, and Connor Berry is going to walk away with the first heat win of the night, and a fantastic win for the Jim Beaver Esports Subaru here. That is a perfect way to get started on the evening, Ian.
You're absolutely right. Connor Berry setting the tone early, letting everybody know, hey, I'm here now. I'm not just a truck driver. I can drive these Rallycross cars as well. You kind of went back to the Joker lap earlier there, Josh. It's actually more advantageous as the leader to take that on your last lap, because you have a little bit of a speed advantage coming down that long straightaway. If you take the Joker before the last lap, you're able to get into turn 1 a lot faster than these other cars.
We'll be taking the top 4 from this heat. So Berry, Teal, Chacon, and Ackenbauer are going to be the 4 that will advance into the feature race already tonight. Nathan Ramsey, Austin Knight, and Ryan Murray, who did not take the grid for that heat, will be moving on to our LCQ here tonight. Time to take a look at the starting grid here for heat race number 2 of the evening. Carson McKenna is going to start on the pole. Andrew Howell, who is outside. Zachary Drapkin and Greg Johnson on the second row. Thomas Grady, Mikey Lawrence going to round out the field as we are ready to go racing once again here tonight. The grid is set and we are racing here for heat number 2, and it's a bad start through the middle of the pack. I believe that was Tyler Milligan who got a bad start and is going to fall all the way to P6. And here they go down into turn number 1. Already a bump and run as Andrew Howell is going to bump Carson McKenna out of the way, put Andrew Howell up to the lead. Zachary Drapkin into second. What a start already here in, as already we're seeing the challenges of this course come out. We were talking before we went green for heat number 1 about how tight this course is. You need to bump people out of the way to make passes. Exactly what Andrew Howell just did to walk away with the early lead here in heat 2.
Yeah, Andrew's got those elbows out. You got to know, after last season, he came so close to that championship. You got to think he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. But sometimes that's what you have to do here at Knockhill. You got to get that bumper to the back of your opponent. I don't know if McKenna will be too happy about that, but hey, you got to do what you got to do to get in the lead here at Knockhill.
Well, now McKenna is going to try and hold on to that transfer spot. Nobody took the Joker lane on that first lap, and now we go on board with Zachary Drapkin trying to chase down Andrew Howell in the 666, who leads the way. You talked about the championship last season in of RX2 action. Tor Andre Borison, who walked away with that lead, and it's a big mistake for Zachary Drapkin coming through the final hairpin as he collides with the tire barrier and is going to fall down in time, but he keeps that second position that is crucial in, because he's not going to fall further down the order towards P4. He still has some odd 10 seconds clear of P4, but another mistake from Drapkin, contact with McKenna. This is going to put him even further down, and now he might be in the clutches of Tyler Milligan and maybe even Mikey Lawrence. Drapkin needs to clean it up or he is going to lose out on a feature spot. He's going to have to fight out of the LCQ.
You're absolutely right. Milligan there in the 62 machine, the Fisher disc golf car. He's now in that last transfer spot. He's got it over Lawrence, but you're absolutely right. I was going to commend Drapkin there on the wonderful save, honestly. You could actually go on the outside of that tire barrier there for that last hairpin, and if you take it calmly enough, you won't actually get a slowdown penalty. But yeah, you got to think there. That's not what he was trying to do at all, as we see Tyler Milligan off course here and correcting.
Really seeing how not only the inexperience of these drivers, yes, they have just a little bit less experience, a little bit less speed than the other drivers in RX1 that we'll see later tonight. This is also a new track that these drivers are trying to adjust to as well. And not only is it a new track, it's a very, very difficult track to get the hand of. So even if they don't have the hours and hours upon hours of practice put in, like maybe some of the World Championship drivers have put in to get ready for this season's World Championship, they are going to be having a huge learning curve when it comes to this course, because not only is it new, not only is it tough, it's also very, very unique compared to the other rallycross courses that we'll see on the campaign.
Josh, it's not even these RX2 drivers, honestly. I was in practice sessions with these drivers all week, and everybody is struggling with this course. And some drivers will complain about that. Some drivers will say maybe that's not fair, as we see Hal coming around the final hairpin now to take the checkered flag. He'll take P1 for this first heat race. But we're going to see all of these drivers, RX1, RX2, we're going to see them all struggle with this very tight technical track.
Great win for Andrew Howell. He's going to get started in a great way for heat number two, excuse me, of RX2. Coming across the line, Zachary Drapkin, Mikey Lawrence, going to be the last two to come across the line that will qualify for a spot in tonight's feature race. They come across the line, and we get a great look top to bottom at your heat number 2 results. Andrew Howell, Carson McKenna, the top 2, with Drapkin and Lawrence going to round out the 4 drivers who will advance into the feature. Milligan and Johnson, 5th and 6th, will have to fight out of the LCQ, which, speaking of, and Thomas Grady as well add his name to that list that'll be competing in the LCQ, which is getting ready to take the green flag now. Let's take a look at your starting grid for the LCQ tonight. We'll have a 5-minute warm-up at the conclusion of this race. Nathan Ramsey, Tyler Milligan going to share that front row. Austin Knight, Greg Johnson on row 2, with Ryan Murray and Thomas Grady going to round out the only 6 drivers that we will see here in the LCQ. But Ian, this is the final chance for these drivers to walk away with a spot in the feature race. This is an important one, especially for drivers like Nathan Ramsey, Austin Knight, Tyler Milligan, who have shown some speed, just maybe had some mistakes in their heat race.
I was just going to say Tyler Milligan had a very strong heat too. The only thing that happened was he had that little bit of an incident coming off of that tight right to left, or correction, left to right section coming off that first turn, as we see these drivers heading into turn 1.
We only had 4 drivers who take the grid, and take a look at the contact already, and around is going to go Nathan Ramsey. He's going to fall all the way to 4th. Greg Johnson into 3rd. Tyler Milligan's into the tire barrier as the Artesian builds machine of Austin Knight is going to pull off to the early lead. Milligan's going to fall to 3rd. Greg Johnson falls to 2nd. Now keep in mind, even though we only have 4 drivers here, we're only going to be taking the top 2 when we conclude this race. So this is going to be very, very crucial for these drivers, because now that moves Milligan even further out as he is into the tire barrier.
And it's so hard, Josh. It is so hard, that last hairpin, to come out of that dirt section. Sometimes you're a little bit unsettled. we only got a little bit there, but sometimes you're a little bit unsettled coming out of that dirt goat trail there, as we can see Milligan was here, and that car is really light for you. So when you try to get on the brakes and get into that hairpin turn, it does push out a little bit there. And it looks like that's what happened to Milligan.
Very, very tough break for Tyler Milligan. You were talking about how he showed some promise and showed some speed at the beginning of his heat race, and now unfortunately is going to be ending in the pits and ending his night there as well. Austin Knight, Greg Johnson, your top two, both take to the Joker lap this time by, so that's going to keep Austin Knight in the lead, and he's going to keep Greg Johnson further behind him and not really give him any sort of pressure from behind, as we get a great look here on board with Austin Knight as he sits in the lead currently, and you can see the focus on his face here, Ian, really working hard behind the wheel of his Ford Fiesta. It goes to show how tough Rallycross is. You think he looks serious, you got to think about Garrett Maines, you got to think about the World Championship drivers who, they look like they're borderline anxious when they're sitting behind the wheel.
I was just about to say, you definitely know that Austin's in the zone. Well, he was in the zone. He gives us a little bit of a vibe there. You know, we like to see it. We like to see our guys having fun a little bit. I will say, though, Josh, it's kind of interesting here. You see that Austin takes the Ford Fiesta. In these practice sessions, you see a lot of the drivers that normally drive the Subaru WRX car were actually taking the Ford Fiesta. It's a little bit more nimble here on these tighter quarter tracks.
Very, very interesting to see the difference in car choice for a lot of the drivers. A lot of the World Championship drivers swear by the Subaru. We saw a couple of picks of the Ford Fiesta and even a couple of picks of the VW Beetle in the All-Star Invitational from the World Championship this season, but we'll see how many RX1 drivers who are a little bit more particular about their car choice are going to choose the Fiesta over the Subaru. We'll see what happens as we go on to the white flag lap of the last chance qualifier, and it looks like a fairly easy race for Austin Knight at the front. Same thing with Greg Johnson as we check in with him. No pressure from out back as he sits in P2 currently. Nathan Ramsey is some odd 20 seconds behind and relatively off the pace as through the final couple of corners here at the virtual Knockhill Racing Circuit and onto the front straightaway. Austin Knight is going to walk away with the win here in RX2 LCQ, and you can see the celebration and the absolute jubilation we're seeing, Ian. Great for Austin to grab that win and showing some speed behind the wheel of his Ford Fiesta.
Absolutely, man. And of course for these RX2 guys, you know, it's just an LCQ, but these guys are building on those little wins as we see Austin here. I think he was trying to do a burnout there and maybe it got away from him a little bit, but it's big to win one of these LCQs, big to one of these heat races too. It really puts you in a good mindset for the feature coming up.
So we'll take Austin Knight, we'll take Greg Johnson, the top two, and advance them into the feature race. There you can see the drivers who did not grid up, Ryan Murray and Thomas Grady. But where we sit currently, we enter into the warm-up period. Only about 2 minutes on this warm-up, so we're not going to have a lot of time, but we can, however, just give you a little bit of a heads up as to what we'll see this campaign. Obviously, a brand new season is beginning of Racecraft TV Rallycross this season, and we'll take a look at where we'll be going on this season's schedule. And we start at the brand new circuit of Knockhill, but in already a quick glance at the schedule, it's a lot shorter than it originally was in season 1. And not only that, no repeat circuits. We're only going to go to each circuit once on this calendar, which means you cannot make any mistakes and you do not have any safety nets of, oh, I'm good at Sonoma, we'll be coming back closer to the championship. You need to be good at Sonoma at the one time we're there.
You took the words straight out of my mouth, Josh. I was going to say all of these points count. We only have 7 events here in this season, so it's not like you can take a week off or anything like that. And like you said, it's not like you can take a week and say, oh, it's okay, I'll get him at Sonoma, I'll get him at Phoenix. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen this season. We get Knockhill out of the way early. I think a lot of our drivers will be happy about that. But then we have a very eclectic mix of tracks here. We go to Sonoma next week. That's going to be the track on our schedule. It's going to have the most dirt. And it's also got a very tough dirt to asphalt transition right at the end. We're going to see a lot of action there. Move on to the Daytona long, Atlanta long courses, everything like that. It's going to be a lot of technical tracks for these drivers. And like I said, I'm sure they're glad to get Knockhill done this first week, but you can't take a week off. Like you said, Josh, you got to be on your game every single week if you want to take home either of these championships.
Now, these drivers will have one drop week available to them, but we know what happens in the iRacing service. When you take that drop week, that only means that you're walking on eggshells for the remainder of the calendar, and if you take that drop week too early, have another bad result, you're getting taken out of a championship fight. So they need to be careful about when they use that drop week as well. We had upwards of 15 names take to the qualifying at the beginning of the night. We've narrowed them down now to the top 10. We're ready to go racing for feature here tonight. Let's take a quick look at the starting grid as we get ready to go racing. It's Connor Berry who sits on the pole, and to his outside is going to be Andrew Howell, Trevor Teal, and more as we get ready to go racing. It's time for the feature race, and we are underway here in RX2. It's a great start for Connor Berry. He's going to be side by side with Andrew Howell as they dive into turn number 1. Big jump from Connor Berry as he goes over the rumble strip. Everybody trying to feed into turn number 1. It's Berry who leads, Andrew Howell in second. Everybody fighting from there on back. Trevor Teal's caught in a hornet's nest. So is your LCQ winner Austin Knight. But as they continue to fight through the third section, everybody looks fairly clean. No major incidents, and out in front goes Connor Berry, who is now trying to run away at the front of this field. But here comes Andrew Howell with a big move trying to get back on him.
Yeah, this battle between Andrew Howell and Connor Berry is going to be one to watch this entire season. Two very talented drivers, but I'll go back to what we saw at the start there. If you're not in position for that turn 1, I've seen a lot of drivers try to send it 3 wide. I've seen a lot of drivers try to send it 2 wide going down to that corner. That's a really easy way to ruin your race there, Josh. So really, you got 10 laps to go. You got to just get to that first corner cleanly and get yourself into a rhythm and chase after these guys. As we see Andrew Howell here in the 666 car, the Ferris Shifters car, trying to chase down Connor Berry.
And you can see he's exactly following him on this course. He is not going to take the Joker lane yet. It looks like Austin Knight is going to dive in further back, but this battle for the lead remains just that, a battle at the front of this field, and not even halfway done with this race. Now, we had 5 laps for the heat races in the LCQ. We're going to be hopping up from 5 laps to 10 laps as we go racing here in the feature. But as they continue to fight, Berry out in front, looking like his traditional driving style of very, very aggressive, almost attacking these corners. And he's so used to the dirt when it comes to Pro 4 and Pro 2 trucks as Andrew Howell takes the Joker in. Obviously, these cars are very different from Pro trucks, and racing on asphalt is very different than racing on dirt, but it seems like he has at least a small advantage when it comes to racing in the dirt section, because at least he knows a little bit more about how that car is going to react. And as I say that, small mistake as he hits the inside tire barrier and bounces off.
And I think that's going to happen, Josh. I think we're going to see that throughout the night, even to our RX1 Feature, RX2 LCQs and Heats. We're going to see some guys take a little bit of damage here, and it's how you're going to manage that damage. Watching the back of Connor Berry's car here, I think he's going to hold on to that Joker lap for the last lap. At this point here, you see Teal, I believe, take the Joker lap. I think you have to hold on to that lap until the very last lap. Now, if you're one of these drivers that are chasing Connor Berry, I think you have to take that Joker lap as soon as you possibly can, and then try to put as little time between you and Connor as you can, so you can make that last lap pass, possibly for the win of this race here.
That looks to be exactly what Andrew Howell was able to do. He took the Joker lane relatively early and now is within about 5 seconds of your leader, Connor Berry. Big question now is, when is Berry going to walk away into the Joker lap? Because he has 5 to go this time by, and if Andrew Howell keeps him reeled in, we'll see if he is within that Joker lane delta to be able to make a pass on Connor Berry when Berry goes into the Joker. Obviously, if you're used to watching the rallycross tracks of Daytona, Atlanta, any track usually in North America, they have shorter Joker laps where it's more of a shortcut. You go over to Europe, it is a longer lap as the Joker. If you're familiar with tracks like Brands Hatch, a little bit longer, but it still is longer. Knockhill, it's longer. Hell Lankabanen, it's longer as well. Barcelona, longer. So it just makes even more of a challenging, because instead of having a shortcut knowing that you're going to gain time on the driver in front, you know that you're going to lose time when you come into the Jokers. That only makes it even more of a strategy to be able to use.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's one of the best things about Rallycross, honestly, is some of these tracks you have a joker that is a shortcut, you have some of these jokers that's a longer way around. So, you know, Connor Berry in the lead right now, it's about a 4.5 second delta on that joker lap there. You got to think he knows that in the back of his head. He goes, hey, I got to put a 4-second lead here on Andrew Howell if I want to win this race. And if I was Connor Berry, honestly, if I saw I had that 4.5, 5-second lead, I would take that joker lap as soon as I can and not have to worry about it, because then you know it's just staying in front of that driver. There's no no pun intended chicanery that could happen where you lose that lead later on in this race, as we see an excellent battle here for 4th and 5th place with Connor McKenna and Chase On here going into turn 1. Oh, McKenna gets a little bit loose there, Josh.
He just completely slid it in there, and he's going to slide it into the grass. That's going to give Chacon a great ability to keep that 4th spot, and he'll be able to hold alive in the top 5. Carson McKenna is going to fall back now into the clutches of Austin Knight. What will Knight be able to do is try and get a top 5 spot, but as we go back into turn number 1 with Connor Berry, now it's 2 laps to go, but mistakes from Andrew Howell has gained time for Connor Berry. You can see the gap when what was once under 5 seconds is now a little bit over 6 seconds. He has lost a ton of time out there on the racetrack. So now thinking of Andrew Howell here, in if Connor Berry takes the joker, I don't believe it is going to be enough for Andrew Howell to catch up. You can see he's losing even more time on the racetrack. Berry is on rails, not making a single mistake. White flag is out. Joker lap this time from Berry, and it looks like an almost guaranteed win if he's perfect on this final lap.
Just a surgical performance from Connor Berry, really just coming in here and like I said earlier, telling everybody, hey, I'm here. I'm someone to reckon with in this RX2 class. And he's showing that right now. He's going to take the joker lap here probably. I mean, he has to, obviously, unless he has a real slip of the mind here. But he's going to take the joker lap here this last time, come around, and barring any mistakes, which is very important. You got to go through here without any mistakes. He's going to take the win here in the feature, in his first feature in RX2, as we see him coming across the finish line here right now. Josh.
What a fantastic race for Connor Berry. He walks away with the first feature race win of the Season 2 of Racecraft TV Rallycross in the RX2 class. And what a clinic that was put on by the driver from Jim Beaver Esports. And an absolutely fantastic run for the number 28 machine. And Connor Berry is going to celebrate as he drifts it through the dirt section here from virtual Knockhill. And a fantastic way to end out the night of RX2 action as we will grab a look at your race results here of the feature. It's Connor Berry who walks away with the win. Andrew Howell in second place. Trevor Teal, Nick Chacon, and Carson McKenna is going to round out your top 5. Mikey Lawrence, Austin Knight, Greg Johnson, Zachary Drapkin, and David Ankenbauer are going to round out the 10 drivers who took the green flag here from virtual Knockhill Racing Circuit in RX2. So we end out the night of RX2. We still have RX1 action coming up, so stick with us here on Racecraft TV, and we'll also see if we can grab an interview with a handful of our RX2 drivers. But Ian, what a start I think we're seeing to the campaign, because Connor Berry was very fast at the front of the field, but Andrew Howell, Trevor Teal, I'd even throw Nick Chacon and Carson McKenna in there as well, showing some great speed out on this racetrack. We could have a lot of drivers who go battling for a championship in RX1 this season.
Yeah, and I want to just take a second there to shout out Carson McKenna. This is his first start in RX2, his first start in any league race, and already showing up and making his you know, I know he wrecked out there going for the third place spot with, I believe it was Chacon there. But really, you got to love that aggressiveness and love that spirit coming from our early RX2 drivers here in this feature. As you know, Tor Andre Burrison last year winning the RX2 championship. He's moved on to RX1, so it's always nice to see that new blood and the new vitalization coming to the RX2 category for our fans there at home.
And like I mentioned, RX1 action coming up in just about 10 minutes time. But now we get to talk with your race winner from RX2, the feature race winner. It's Connor Berry. And Connor, what a night it was for you to get started in RX2, your first season of Racecraft TV Rallycross competition. How'd it feel to get out there on the track and really put on work from these drivers and walk away with a perfect hat trick, pole position, heat race win, and feature race win?
Yeah, for sure. It was fun. I mean, this was my my first ever time in this league, so I knew that it would be fun, and I was able to qualify first, and then get first in my heat, and then I was just being smooth and consistent, and I brought home the win.
Smooth and consistent seems to be what you always are when it comes to anything on the iRacing service. But can you talk about a little bit about making that jump from the off-road trucks into rallycross? Because yes, it's the same license class, it's still dirt road, you're still putting tires onto dirt, so it's at least a little bit similar, but pro trucks handle wildly different than these RX cars. So is it a bit of a learning curve for you, or do you think it's taking what you know from the pro trucks and putting it onto rallycross is helping a little bit?
For sure. I'm more from the short course side, like you said. So this for sure is a big change. Like, these cars are just so loose, and it's definitely, in my, like, for me, it's pretty hard to learn. So I put in some time for this race, and obviously I'm still not the best, but I feel like I am to a point where I can be smooth and consistent. Now I just need to find some more time, and I think I can just slowly get that.
Well, moving on in the campaign, we got Sonoma in 1 week's time. Do you think you can keep up the winning ways and go back to back in the win column at Sonoma Raceway?
I hope I can. I will for sure put in some time, and just hopefully I can just be smart, smooth, and consistent.
Well, thank you very much for your time here on Racecraft TV. Connor, congratulations on your RX2 Feature Race win tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Great to hear from Connor Berry there, Ian, and what a fantastic run it was for him to get that win. And we go from the winner to third place, still on the podium, but Trevor Teal with a great run. Ian, you're standing by with him now.
Trevor, a great run at third place there. You know, I know you were in the RX2 competition last year, but I want to start off with, what are your expectations for this year? What are you hoping to get done this year in the RX2 category?
Shoot, I want to win. That's what I'm here for. I feel like I can do it, and just going to go for it every week. I'm excited.
And we're excited to watch you as well. Now, as far as preparation for Knockhill, it's a very tight track. You got to qualify out in front. I'm sure you know that. What was your mindset when you saw that you weren't going to be in front for that feature race?
I was just hoping I was not going to get smashed from behind, which everyone did a pretty good job. So turned out to be a pretty good race.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's very important there to keep that position going in the turn one. Now let's talk Joker strategy, a little bit of that. You know, were you trying to get that Joker out of the way as fast as you can and just worry about chasing down your competition? Or were you trying to hold on to that, see if anybody made some mistakes and then capitalize?
I was kind of just hoping to find a spot where I could take it and not interfere with anybody coming through the regular part of the track. So I think I took it lap 5, and it turned out pretty well. It put me back into third, I believe, and I held it from there. Connor and Andrew were on rails today, so shout out to them, and yeah.
And you're absolutely right. That strategy there, it did keep you in third place for your first feature of this season. Is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to? Anybody you want to thank going into round number 2 there at Sonoma?
Yeah, definitely. Factory Sim Sport, Legion Speed Sport, CK Designs for making my car look amazing, and my dad for always supporting me, and Racecraft for the broadcast. You guys rock. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Trevor. It was good enough for third place tonight. Be sure to follow Teal72 on Twitch there, Josh.
I actually I've been slacking. I need to go follow Keel72 on Twitch and as quickly as possible. But we're going over from RX2 over to RX1, and session is now up. As we load in, we will take a short break here in a moment. But Ian, I want to get your thoughts just going from RX2 to RX1. Obviously, these drivers are going to have more experience. They're going to be a little bit more versed in these cars. So do you think we're going to see less mistakes be made on this track just by general more knowledge of the cars? Do you think it's still going to be that gigantic learning curve trying to learn a brand new track?
You know, Josh, it's a great question. Honestly, I'm not as talented as these RX1 drivers. I mean, we've got the likes of Josh Edmondson, Garrett Maines, Toraji Barson, our RX2 championship last year, and those guys are infinitely talented. You know what I mean? I'm sure if there's a pass to be made, these guys, if anybody's going to get it done, these guys are going to get it done at Knockhill. You know what I mean? So I'm very excited to see our RX1 competition coming up. Really excited to see if Garrett Maines can go for that repeat, that back-to-back championship here, as he won our championship last season. But I think we'll see a little bit closer racing here. I know a lot of those guys in RX2, they're trying to make a name for themselves right now. We got guys like Connor Berry, Carson McKenna, Trevor Teal, Nathan Ramsey. You know what I mean? I know a lot of those guys' philosophy going in this race is to finish the race. But these guys in RX1, they want to win the race, Josh. So it's going to be excited to see what these guys are going to get done.
Already looking over at the drivers loading into the session is a lot of fast names. So we're not going to let you wait much longer. We'll take a short break here on Racecraft TV, but do not go anywhere because it is RX1 action. The more experienced and a couple of world championship names are getting ready to go racing in Racecraft TV Rallycross when we return.
And welcome to Hickory on a beautiful 80-degree Easter Saturday.
welcome back to live coverage of Racecraft TV Rallycross. We're getting ready for RX1 to get started. World Championship and famous names when it comes to the iRacing Rallycross service. I'm your host Joshua Lee. Alongside me is Ian Fisher as we kick off a brand new season of coverage for Racecraft TV Rallycross. And Ian, it's time to get started with RX1 and just taking a glance at this brand new track that we are at, the Knockhill Racing Circuit, the newest circuit on the iRacing service, known for touring cars and some epic rallycross action.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's actually a track known more for touring cars than rallycross. The UK rallycross circuit stand is held here. It's not a WRC track, but it was opened in 1974. We're located here in beautiful Fife, Scotland. We've got a beautiful day today. This track is just over 3/4 of a mile. We're just under 1.5 kilometers. It's a very tight technical track. It's very interesting here as you go down that downhill section of that first corner. Most of these rallycross drivers are used to a very fine dirt surface. This dirt section here is actually a little bit more of a gravel surface, and then we actually have another dirt surface. So very interesting track here that challenges even the best drivers in these practice sessions all week. Joshua, these drivers are having trouble getting through 10 laps clean, as we kind of saw in that RX2 there. It's one where you can't make any mistakes.
And we're gonna have a huge night tonight as we take a look at the race analysis for RX1. 5-lap heats, 5-lap LCQ with a 10-lap main. Now we'll only have 2 heats tonight. That is the maximum amount of heats that we will have. We have upwards of 20 drivers trying to qualify in for our 10-driver feature race tonight. So this is going to be a huge battle with a lot of great names to try and qualify themselves into the feature race tonight. Now, 6x incident limit and open setup. Now, we didn't get to go over race analysis for RX2, but the RX2 class is an 8x incident limit with a fixed setup, so just a little bit different. These drivers are expected to race a little bit cleaner, not need as many incidents, and have that open setup option available to them for the World Championship teams and alike to build their own setups, trim their car out to exactly what they are looking for out on the track. Now, we don't have any point standings, of course, with it being week number 1, but we can touch on the points format that you can see up on the screen now. So for the heat races, if we have 8 drivers, everybody from first on down to 8th will get points. Either way, first earns 8, second place earns 7, and it goes so on and so forth down there. If we have more than 8 drivers, 9th and back will earn 0 points for that heat. We can only have 10 drivers in a heat as a maximum. If we have less, of course, then it'll go as follows. First place will earn 15 points, second place will earn 12, third earns 10, fourth 8, fifth 6, then 6th 5th, and it goes all the way down in increments of 1 down into P10, which will earn 1 point for the night. So a big stretch of points there, Ian, and I think what's most interesting is the difference between first and second being 3 points, and then the difference between 6th and 7th being 1. That really makes first and second place a much bigger battle, a much more important battle than anything that we'll see in the midfield.
Look, man, if you're racing rallycross, you're here to win. Really, that's just all there is to say. You're here to win. You're here to finish up front. Not trying to say that, we love all of our drivers here at Racecraft Rallycross TV, but you want to be up front. You want to get those points. What I really like about the rallycross format, Josh, is it's not only the race that matters, it's the heat that matters. You know what I mean? You see, as we see here, first place gets 8 points. If you get first place in the heat, first place in the feature, you can double down on those points. So it's very, very important not to just qualify up front, but to finish up front as well. And I think that's something that sets apart rallycross from some of the other formats we see here on the iRacing service.
Exactly right, and really with rallycross as well, we have those heats, but we also got that LCQ, but with only 2 spots available in that LCQ, you gotta be diligent when it comes to racing in the LCQ. Time to go racing for the first heat of the night. We'll be able to grab a look at the 9 drivers who will be gridding up here in the first heat of the night. Walking away with the pole position will be none other than the champion of RX1 in last season, Garrett Maines, Adam Alderton, another very fast driver, starting to his outside. Josh Edmondson and Daniel Eisch going to share the second row. Josh Fox with Marcus Palacio going to share that third row on the grid. Down from there, Robbie Larrill and the RX2 champion from last season, Tor Andre Borison. He starts in P8 with Ryan Murray, who will be rounding out the field. The excitement's starting to build here for Racecraft TV Rallycross RX1. This was the series that a lot of your favorite World Championship drivers were able to get practice in before they hit the track for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship presented by Yokohama. It's time to bring the action back. We have former World Championship names. We have names that'll be competing in the World Championship this season, and everybody in between. As we grid up on the virtual Knockhill racing circuit, you can see the trio of Ford Fiestas at the front and even more on back, looking for that shorter wheelbase, that easier to handle car. Who's going to walk away with the first heat win of RX1 season? We are underway in RX1 for the first heat of the night, and it's Garrett Maines who walks away with a good start, but Adam Alderton on the outside is going to have him beat by just about a hair, and he's going to keep that lead. Contact made. Alderton gets sent off into the gravel. Maines is going to hold the lead, and still from there, Tor Andre Borison looked like he might have gotten a shot as well, and as they race through the dirt section for the first time, Garrett Maines walks away with a hefty lead, over 1 second already at the front of the field.
And Josh, that's what's so amazing about Knockhill here, is I thought that Adam Alderton had Garrett Maines on the outside, and Garrett did nothing wrong there. I want to point out he held his ground, he held his line, but that's just what happens here at Knockhill, is you got to take those risks right off the bat, and you got to make sure that you can put yourself in a position to stay out in front of this incredibly talented field we see here tonight.
You can see on board Adam Alderton, he's already using that bumper again to get to the back bumper of Daniel Eisch, and he just almost moved him out of the way. Now here comes Josh Edmondson as well. What can he do against Adam Alderton? Edmondson, a name who tried to qualify for the Rallycross World Championship last season, unfortunately came up just a couple of points short. Now returning to Racecraft TV Rallycross action after last season, showing some great promise and great improvements. He's looking to win a championship this season as Alderton goes into the Joker. Josh Fox will assume second place in his Williams Esports Subaru, and now Garrett Maines sits at the front of this field. The former champion of our Racecraft TV Rallycross in last season is showing why he was the champion, showing some great speed out on this course as he works that Smithfield Foods Subaru at the front of the field. 2 to go this time by.
Yeah, and we're just so lucky to have the drivers of this caliber that we have, as we see Fox take the Joker lap now in his Williams Esports Subaru. It's just such a joy to see drivers like Garrett Maines, Josh Fox, Josh Edmondson, Tor Andre Borison, Adam Alderton, Marcus Palacio, Robbie Larrill, all of these guys, elite rallycross drivers, and they're here for you tonight on Racecraft TV.
Then we go on board with Daniel Eisch, who has not taken to the Joker lane yet, but is within striking distance of Garrett Maines. If Maines takes the Joker, we could see a battle for the lead brew between Maines and Eisch, but Eisch has Josh Edmondson right behind him. Remember, top 4 advance, and there is contact before going into the braking zone, as Josh Edmondson just slams into Daniel Eisch over the iRacing voice chat in. Josh Edmondson says he thought that Daniel Eisch was going to come into the Joker. That's another quirk of rallycross action, especially on a high-speed straightaway leading into the Joker. You don't know what the driver in front of you is going to do. Very easy for contact like that to happen.
Josh, I was going to say the same exact thing that I saw right away. Josh Edmondson is not a driver that does that. Josh is not the guy to lay the back bumper to this. We see Garrett Maines here take the hairpin at the final corner, and he'll take the win here in Heat 1 on Rallycross TV here on Racecraft TV. But it's so hard going into that Joker lap because the person who's taking the Joker has to hold that inside line, but the person who's making that turn is going to turn right across that line as well, as we see the rest of the, oh my goodness, as we see Robbie Larrill spun across the start finish line. But that's what's so difficult about this Knockhill track, is that the difference between the Joker, you can't discern it like you can a lot of these other tracks.
There is your results of heat number 1. Garrett Maines, Josh Fox, Adam Alderton, Josh Edmondson going to be the top 4 that will advance their way into the feature race. Back from there, Aish, Laril, Borison, Palacio, and Ryan Murray will have to race their way out of the LCQ. Let's grab a look at the starting grid really fast for heat number 2 as we get ready to go racing. It's Jakob Raffas, Christian Lindo. It's in second place, Sean Langton, Josh Klog, Connor Parisi, Marshall Stanley, the top 6. And as we go green, back from there was Ben Williams, Ray Kinsbury, and more. As we go racing down into turn number 1 already. 3 wide, 4 wide moments. 2 Ford Fiesta teammates on the outside. That's Klog and Langton as contact is made between Christian Raffas, Lindo. He gets turned, or it looks like Josh Klog actually getting turned. That was his teammate Christian Raffas Lindo who stayed on the racetrack in P3. Jakob Raffas gets away with the lead as Connor Parisi goes into second place.
Yeah, and Jakob Raffas announced today that he'll be signing with Jim Beaver Esports for the 2022 season. So you got to expect he wants to make a good showing here in this first event he has as a team member. We're going to be lap 1 of 5 here. Ray Kingsbury coming to us from NASA Rallycross. So excited to see what he can do here in the RX1 session as we see a little bit of bumping going into turn 1 here, Josh.
That was Christian Raffas Lindo moving Connor Parisi out of the way, as Lindo is now going to move up into second place. Parisi back to third as Ben Williams is going to hold on to the final transfer spot. Now here comes Ray Kinsbury. You talked about him, Ian, coming from NASA Rallycross, and you can see him sitting there in P5. He's going to take the Joker lap, going to be one of the first drivers to do it in this race. Jakob Raffas is going to keep to the race lead with not a small gap between himself and his brother Christian Raffas Lindo. He's going to sit in second place as they continue to race on. But what a start for Jakob Raffas. He set the world on fire when it came to the World Championship Series in his last season. He was able to hold on to his license class by just a couple of points. He still holds on to the World Championship driver status as we go into the next season of Rallycross action in the World Championship.
Yeah, and he's really been trying to prove himself here on the service. A young driver, but a very, very talented driver here as we see him turn into turn 1. It's really interesting to see, Josh, all of these drivers are saving their Joker lap until the very end. You gotta... I think a lot of these RX1 drivers are going to know that the most advantageous time to use that Joker lap is either right away or at the very end of the race. As I was alluding to earlier in our RX2 coverage, if you take that Joker lap as the leader with the last lap of the race, you don't have to worry about someone catching up to you going really hard in the turn 1, because that is a prime spot and one of the only spots here at Knockhill that you can make a pass.
White flag comes out for Jakob Raffas, who sits at the front of the field and is saving his Joker lap for this final lap here. And Christian Raffas Lindo did just come into the Joker lane, so looking like Jakob Raffas with a pretty much locked away heat race win here, as it is about 7 seconds back to Christian Raffas Lindo, who sits in P2. But back onto the tarmac through the final corner. He will take the Joker lap on this final lap, and a newly signed driver for Jim Beaver Esports already is going to be showing off for the new boss as he grabs the win here in RX1 Heat 2. Jakob Raffas goes from winning in the World Championship to winning in Racecraft TV Rallycross as he walks away with your Heat number 2 win. Here comes the rest of the field on by, and we will grab a look at your results from that previous heat and race number 2 as the grid gets ready to form for the LCQ. Raffas Lindo, Parisi, and Williams will move on to the feature. Klog, Stanley, Kingsbury, Langton, and Ankenbauer are ready to go racing right now here in this Constellation Last Chance Qualifier. Real quick look at the starting grid. Daniel Aish, Josh Klog, Robbie Laril, Marshall Stanley, Tor Andre Borison, Ray Kingsbury. And looking down from there, it's Marcus Palacio, Sean Langton, Ryan Murray, and David Ankenbauer. Ian, these drivers are fighting for just 2 spots at the front of the field. This is going to be hectic. We have 10 drivers here in the LCQ.
And Josh, I'm not making any exaggerations when I say this. Every single one of these drivers in our LCQ here deserves to be in the feature race. and that just goes to show as a testament of how good these drivers are as we see them launch off the line here in the turn one of just the quality of talent here we have at Racecraft TV is oh my goodness, Robbie Rillo just gets turned there. There's no other way to say it.
The Rill gets turned. Kingsbury gets turned. I believe Andre Borson also around in the background. Yes, he is. Who else is with him? Sean Langton's involved as well. Carnage at the first corner as multiple drivers go around, but at the front of the field, how about Daniel Eisch, who walks away with the race lead? Josh Clogg sits in second. Ray Kingsbury is able to get away from third as he spins out coming into the hairpin. That's going to move Kingsbury down into fifth. And mistakes are starting to take drivers out of feature race contention here in. Eisch and Clogg look great at the front of the field to walk away with a fairly easy top two and a fairly easy qualification into the feature.
Yeah, and Josh Clogg, Dan Eisch, both two very talented drivers. Dan Eisch looking to make a name for himself this season as a privateer driver. Josh, he's looking for some support everywhere he can, going by himself this year. And Josh Clogg, part of, I believe, Fiercely Ford, correct me if I'm wrong, but a very established team here in the dirt racing section. I do want to give a shout out, though, to the number 4 spot there with Marcos Palacio coming over from Argentina RX, coming over here in the United States and giving us a shot here in Racecraft TV. He is definitely one to watch out for this season as he goes a little hectic in the turn one here, Josh.
Looked like he wanted to make a pass on Ray Kingsbury in front of him, but had a little bit too much speed, lost control of that Ford Fiesta for a moment. There goes Ray Kingsbury off track in his Subaru. Up in front, Ryan Murray now going to be the driver that Palacio is battling with. Two Ford Fiestas ready to go side by side. And then you see Marshall Stanley. He's in a Subaru in P3. He's going to take to the Joker lane as Ryan Murray, Marcus Palacio already using their Joker lanes here in this race. Daniel Eisch and Josh Clogg, the two leaders of this race with 2 laps to go now. They still need to come into the Joker lane to use them. So, Ian, it looks like for Daniel Eisch, all but locking up this LCQ win. The big question is Josh Clogg going to be able to hold on to second place with a 9-second gap? It's looking pretty probable as it looks like both of these drivers are going to save their Jokers for the final lap, but almost biting again in the hairpin is Josh Clogg.
Yeah, Danny Aish, the former motocross driver here in Australia, used to race with Jeremy Graff, definitely has the advantage going in this last lap. He's able to sit there and watch Josh and see when he takes his Joker. Really, if he would have taken it, the lap before, if Josh taken it or taking it now here on the last lap, he's in the catbird seat, and it looks like him and Josh Clogg are going to move through to our feature race tonight.
Out of the dirt section for Daniel Eisch as he goes on to the Joker lap, and so will Josh Clogg behind him. No threat for either of these drivers at the front. We're going to send 8 drivers home. I believe for the first time in Racecraft TV Rallycross history, we send 8 drivers home. But Daniel Eisch and Josh Clogg are going to be the 2 drivers that are able to hold on to spots in the feature race, as they both will qualify their way in through tonight's LCQ. What a race we saw here, Ian. Unbelievable that we're cutting 8 drivers away after having 9 of them take the grid in the feature.
I was just going to say we're sending 8 of these guys home. Robbie the Real's going home. Taraji Borson's going home. Ray Kingsbury's going home. And that's no disrespect to Sean Langton or Marshall Stanley or Marcos, any of these guys. But it just blows me away how many of these guys we have to send home when we just have this level of talent in the RX1 class.
Only Eisch and Clogg will move on into the feature out of these drivers from the LCQ. Everybody else will unfortunately have to try again in 1 week's time when we go racing from virtual Sonoma. But where we sit now, warm-up has begun. 1.5 minutes on the clock for the warm-up here for RX1. And we'll grab another look at the points format here, Ian, because remember, Daniel Eisch and Josh Clogg, they have not earned any points from that LCQ finish. They will only earn points from the heats and the features. So currently your heat race winners, which in this event have been Garrett Maines in heat number 1 and Jakob Raffus in heat number 2. They are currently trying to bat for a perfect game in the heats and feature. Garrett Maines has the opportunity to go for a perfect hat trick with the pole position, heat race win, and feature race win. We've got a lot of new drivers. We got a lot of world championship names. We cut 8 away. We still keep 10 for the feature. This is going to be one of the most exciting feature races we have seen in Racecraft TV Rallycross history, and we're only in round number 1 of season 2.
Yeah, round number 1, and just a total shock and surprise to see Garrett Maines towards the top of the field there, huh, Josh? I mean, you never see that coming.
Never see it.
No. But I gotta ask you. You're the guy here that likes the spit the facts and everything like that, and I'm supposed to give the opinions. But who do you have going into this first RX1 feature of the season?
Well, it's tough not to take anybody except for Garrett Maines because he has just been so consistent. We saw it last season of Racecraft TV Rallycross action. We're seeing it again this season, but Jakob Raffus, I'm definitely going to keep my eye on because he's one of those drivers who, out of 2021, put in the most laps of practice. He qualified into the World Championship and set the world on fire in the World Championship and was able to get the top 10 to hold on to his license class. So I'm expecting Jakob Raffus to be equally as fast as Garrett Maines, if not walking away with a feature race win. But the time for talking about what will happen is up, and the time for seeing what will happen is here as we get ready to go racing. Here's the starting grid for the feature race of RX1. Garrett Maines, Jakob Raffus, your 2 winners of the heat races will qualify in first and second. Josh Fox, Christian Raffus Lindo on row 2. Adam Alderton and Connor Parisi gonna share that 3rd row. Looking back from there in the starting grid, Josh Evanson and Ben Williams on row 4. Daniel Eish and Josh Clogg are going to round out the 10 drivers who are ready to go racing here in the first feature race of the season for RX1. Ian, quick final thoughts before we go green.
I just want to say, who's on the front row? Jakob Raffus, Garrett Maines. Remember what happened in heat? I believe it was heat number 1, Josh. We'll see what happens here going down in the turn 1.
That's between Alderton and Maines. Will it happen again between Raffus and Maines as we are ready to go racing? It's the first feature race of the season for RX1, and let's go racing! Maines and Raffus gonna go side by side into turn number 1. All bets are off. Who's gonna walk away with the lead? Maines is gonna use up Raffus, trying to make him go the long way around. Raffus is gonna get loose on the outside line. He's gonna get touched into by, I believe that was Adam Alderton on the inside as they all go racing through the dirt section. That's Josh Fox way off track, but Maines keeps the lead. That's Alderton in second, trying to hold off Christian Raffus. Lindo from behind. Connor Parisi ends up into the tire barrier. He falls down the order. Josh Fox is able to walk away with second. Raffus falls from second down into P5 off the start as Maines is able to walk away with a comfortable lead, half a second over Adam Alderton behind.
And Garrett Maines knew what he had to do. He knew we had to get in the turn 1 before anybody else. It's a nice thing about being in front, Josh. You don't have to worry about anyone trying to take you out or anybody using you up, as we saw there that happened in turn 1.
That was a huge moment for this race as Jakob Raffus, I believe that was between him and Josh Fox, where Fox was on the inside and pushed him just a little bit too far out of the groove and into the gravel. Now, Ben Williams and Josh Clogg are going to work their way into the Joker lane. So they will use their Joker laps here. Connor Parisi, I believe, has used his Joker lane as well. Yes, he has. He is still on the racetrack after an incident earlier on. We'll see if we can grab a replay of that here in just a moment. But as they continue to race on, Adam Alderton is into the tire barrier and trouble for the Englishman as he'll get himself turned around, but one of the faster drivers just making a mistake there. But look who's already back into third. It's Jakob Raffus, who now is going to use his Joker lane with Josh Fox in tow.
Really interesting Joker strategies that we're seeing here early, Josh. You got to think the people that are in the back of the pack, you want to take that Joker lap as early as you can and just leave it up to fate. You know what I mean? Your leaders might make a mistake, and that's all you have to worry about if you take that Joker lap up early. But we see people here in the middle of the pack here, Jakob Raffus, Jock Fox. They're taking their Joker laps, lap 2, lap 3, lap 4. So really just some interesting Joker strategies we're seeing here, and I think that has a little bit to do with the relative inexperience that everybody has at this track here, as we see Dan H taking the Joker lap now.
Yeah, so now that'll only put Mains and just Mains as Christian Rafus Lindo comes out of the Joker lane, able to hold on to a second place spot, but Garrett Mains, the only driver left that has not taken to the Joker lane. Let's see if we can grab a real quick replay of what happened to Connor Parisi at the start of this race. He just ended up, I believe, somewhere wrapped around in a tire barrier. And it looks like it might have happened coming to the Joker lane here. Oh my goodness, through the dirt section. He just hits the tire barrier on the inside, goes flipping up and over onto his lid, able to get it back on all 4 tires, but still a scary moment there as Connor Parisi went up and over. And we'll see what happens to Adam Alderton here as well in just a moment. Let's see what happens to Alderton there.
Yeah, go ahead, Alderton. I think he just overdrove that downhill section, which is so easy to do, Josh. The car gets so light going over that uphill sector. I'm sorry, that downhill section.
Mistake from Mains.
Oh, really?
Mains just made a huge mistake, and Christian Rafus Lindo, sorry to cut you off there, Ian, but we have a battle for the lead that has just gone the way of Christian Rafus Lindo after a huge mistake here from Garrett Mains. Now this is going to make it a heads-up battle for the race lead between Rafus Lindo and yet Jakob Rafus, and maybe Josh Fox even as well, but Josh Fox overcooks it in the dirt section as well. Huge mistakes from World Championship drivers, but the Rafuses at the front of the field, and they are battling in their Ford Fiestas for the race lead. 3 to go this time by. They're side by side out of the dirt, and Jakob Rafus is able to take the lead, but he gets turned. Rafus Lindo goes into Jakob Rafus, turns him around into the grass, and Christian Rafus Lindo is able to hold on to the race lead with 3 laps to go.
I've been talking this whole time, Josh, how this track is so difficult and how hard it would be to pass. I never thought I would see 2 cars as close as we saw there, and unfortunate to see some contact between those 2 drivers, but that just goes to show how little space is here on this Knockhill track. You gotta assert your position, and you gotta make sure you're there once you're there, or else you'll see what we saw there. You're gonna be off to the side.
Now, really quick, we'll try and grab a replay of what happened. So we have 2 laps to go of what happened to Garrett Mains that put him out of the race lead. Here is the replay of Mains. Was it the same incident? Yes, it was. He got too close to the tire barrier, made contact with it, and he got sent into the opposite tire barrier. Had to reverse out of the way so he wasn't in the racing surface, and he lost a ton of time off of that. Now, to the race lead off of this went Jakob Rafus and Christian Rafus Lindo, but Rafus Lindo with a fantastic race here in the feature is going to take the white flag. 1 final lap, and it looks like there was also a moment with Josh Edmondson as well, and we'll see if we can grab a possible replay of that here soon. But Rafus Lindo looking to walk away with the race win here in the opening round of RX1 competition. It was contact with Jakob Rafus as well. They both end up making contact right about here outside of the dirt section. But either way, pending review, of course, from the Racecraft TV Rallycross officials, it looks like out of the final corner, Christian Rafus Lindo, in his first race of the season for Racecraft TV Rallycross Season 2, is going to walk away with your RX1 Feature Race victory.
Yeah, and I was, right as we saw the mistake with Garrett Mains, I was commenting on how rare it is to see a mistake out of Jakob Rafus, and that's Knockhill, Josh. That's all I can say. It's a new track to all of these drivers. It's unpredictable, as we see Danny Aish there in pit road. He was having a really good race too. And Josh Edmondson, all these talented drivers, the guys we sent home, the guys who had trouble here in this main race. It's just shocking to see these incredibly talented drivers struggling with this very demanding track.
That was the mistake there from Edmondson. We got a real quick view of it there, and we'll play it back one more time before we grab the look at the results of the RX1 Feature Race tonight. Just a little bit of a mistake, tapped the tire barrier, and he decided to tow it on back to the pit lane. But As we take a look at the results, it's Christian Lindo who walks away with the win. Josh Fox in second, Jakob Raffus in third, Garrett Maines fourth after a mistake, with Josh Klog rounding out your top five. Adam Alderton, Ben Williams, Daniel Aish, Connor Parisi, and Josh Edmondson. Unfortunately, going to end up P10 at the end of the night as... Whew, what a race we saw there in RX1, and we were wondering if we'd see a lot of the mistakes that we saw in RX2 transfer over. Ian, I think it's safe to say we did, but in different ways. It looks like we saw more just drivers trying to maximize what they could get out of this circuit, not exactly knowing how to do that, and ending up getting into the tire barriers and making those mistakes to push them down in the time.
And really, that's a special thing that we have here in Rallycross, just in general, is that it's so much. I mean, really, Josh, it's not cheating, it's not anything, but it's just using as much of those track limits as you possibly can. And you're absolutely correct. It's just the guys and they just weren't ready for these new track limits and stuff like that. And really, we're all still trying to figure it out. And I believe that's why you saw some of the makes that we saw. Not in RX1, but in RX2 as well. I mean, you see Garrett Maines, Josh Edmondson, Dan Aish, these incredibly talented drivers that we know to be just perfect, making some of these, I don't want to say rookie mistakes, but mistakes that you just don't expect seeing drivers of that caliber to make.
It is definitely a good point, and I think as we go through this campaign, we're going to tracks that have been on the iRacing service for a while. We started with one of the toughest and also the newest Rallycross course on the iRacing service. Undoubtedly, we were going to see some mistakes be made, but at the end of the day, I think we also saw some exciting racing, and we're getting ready to continue with this campaign, and I think it's going to be just such an amazing run to this championship, especially because with Garrett Maines' mistake there finishing down in fourth, we've got Christian Lindo who now sits atop of the points standings heading into the next round of Sonoma. But we're going to start with the post show, and we'll see if we can grab an interview with your race winner, Christian Lindo. But to start, we'll go to second place, and Ian Fisher is standing by with Josh Fox.
Josh, good enough tonight for a second place run there. You know, I just want to talk about this track for a second. You know, you saw a lot of these very talented drivers go into this track, and normally we see you guys go through these RX1 feature events, and there's absolutely no mistakes, and the best of the best. And I'm not saying that anything changed about that tonight, but Josh, what's different about this new Knockhill Rallycross track that sets it apart from the other tracks on the iRacing service?
To me, it reminds me mostly of Sonoma because it's so long and fast, and there's not like a real sharp. I mean, except for turn one, there's not a real sharp slowdown or anything. So it's kind of like that, and I think what we saw is pretty much guys figuring out where the line is. You know, this is a track that's going to come up, going to be an important track for a lot of guys here this year, and I think now is the time to figure out, where the line is not to cross.
You talked about the lines to cross and the lines not to cross. You can talk about that a little bit yourself. What was your mentality going into this feature race? Was it to attack as hard as you possibly could, or was it to sit back and see what was going to happen with the rest of this field?
Well, luckily I didn't get, too deep into the pack. I could have maintained, fourth, I think, was where I felt to, but I was trying just to push each lap as hard as possible, because the other thing about this track is you enter the corner at pretty much a different speed every lap, and I think that is something that it takes the race type of atmosphere to get used to, and I think that's also what a lot of people, including myself, had a challenge with tonight.
So you said you had a challenge with the new track tonight, and I don't think that was, different for anybody on this feature race here for RX1. But what tracks are you looking forward to? We got 6 more races left in the season. What's the track you're looking to make your mark at?
Well, there's one that gets me. I mean, I feel like I have a good chance, anywhere we go, basically. But I ran poorly at Brands Hatch last year, and I want to make up for that. So that I got that one circled.
A little bit of redemption here for Josh Fox this season, Joshua. Josh, there's so many people that get it done for you here on the iRacing service. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, absolutely. A big thanks to the Racecraft crew. You guys put on a really great show, and to Josh Edmondson and Trevor Teal too. Those guys do a really nice job, and happy to be part of the group here. Really good group. And yeah, of course, Williams Esports and all the great partners we have there. BenQ, Chill Blast PC, Fanatec, Playseat, Team Razor, One All Sport, and Heising Felt Pedals. Thanks.
Well, a big thank you to all of Josh's sponsors. That's who helps me get him prepared for this second place finish he happened to take home today here at Joshua from Knockhill.
And a good run from the Anson William Esports outfit, and always see fast runs from Josh Fox. We'll see if that'll continue for the remainder of the calendar. But we move over now to your third place finisher. It's Jakob Raffas, who is now joining us here in the booth. And Jakob, a bit of a tough race for you. Obviously, you got a great start. You won your heat race and were able to be up front. But of course, that then led to that contact. Just take us through that race as a whole, and how was it from your perspective on the track?
Yeah, it was tied into T1, and it was a pretty hectic race. I was like changing position all the time. It was quite tight in T2 when me and Gary came side by side and got pushed out to the gravel section and lost a bit of time there. But I managed to keep up and got to P3.
It's a good start to the season for you as well, to get that podium. And coming off of that strong performances that you had in the World Championship Series, are you taking a bit of that energy and putting into Racecraft TV Rallycross? Because obviously this is going to carry you over until the future of the World Championship.
Yeah, it is great experience for this year's World Championship. And this series is kind of getting me into it again. I was like doing road racing and all that stuff. So lately I haven't been driving a lot of rallycross.
So going off of the brand new Knockhill racing circuit to a track that you've raced plenty of times, the virtual Sonoma Raceway Rallycross layout, do you think you can walk away with another podium there? Do you think you can give it to Garrett Maines, Christian Raffas Lindo, and walk away with a race win?
Might be, we'll see. There's strong field here. With all the fast drivers, there's not easy.
Well, we hope to see you in 1 week's time when we go racing at Sonoma. Jakob, thank you so much for joining us here on Racecraft TV. Of course, we know that you just signed with Jim Beaver Esports. I know you want to give a shout out to them. Anybody else you would like to thank here on Racecraft TV?
Yeah, all the Racecraft crew and yeah, Jim Beaver Esports.
Well, great to hear from Jakob Raffas here, and what a fantastic way to end out the campaign. And we're getting ready to go to another equally exciting track, I would say, but it is one that these drivers are going to have a little bit more experience on as we go racing at the virtual Sonoma Raceway in 1 week's time.
And this is week one, Josh. This is week one of the Rallycross, action we have here out of 7 total weeks we have here at Racecraft TV, and that's what we got. I mean, we had, honestly, I will say 8 of our most talented drivers that didn't even make the feature event. So you got to expect that round 2 at Sonoma. I'm a little bit biased. It's my hometown track. Growing up as a kid in Northern California, I'm excited to go there. But you got to expect some of these more talented drivers can't wait to get to Sonoma and get their revenge. I will say, just maybe not on some of these drivers, but just on the track itself.
And we can't wait to bring you that coverage, and we hope that you'll join us in 1 week's time. Now, most of the schedule will have 1 week in between. This is one of the only back-to-back weeks that we will have. So make sure that you're joining us next Wednesday, February 2nd, same time, same place, around 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Racecraft TV. You can join us for all of the festivities. For my colleague Ian Fisher in the booth, my name is Joshua Lee. And on behalf of Racecraft TV Rallycross and Racecraft TV, we thank you for tuning in to tonight's coverage here from virtual Knockhill Raceway. And congratulations to our RX2 and RX1 winners tonight. We hope to see you in 1 week's time for round 2 of the campaign when we go racing from virtual Sonoma.